4 o'clock. Thanks, everybody who's been able to join us so far. I do expect a few more will probably join us in the next few minutes. We're here to talk about, let's see, what are we doing today? We're finishing up the second community survey, and then we're going to move on to a review of the existing policies and objectives for the current Kelseyville area plan to see what we want to keep or throw out or update. We got to wildfire at our last meeting. So the next question, let's see, any housekeeping? Oh, I actually have to leave, sorry, a half hour early because I'm booked for an in-person shoreline LAPAC meeting in Clear Lake Oaks at 6. So I'm going to need to leave at like 5. Sorry. I hate to do that and cut off our time. Yeah. Sorry. But so anyway, let's go ahead and jump in. Let's see, would it be helpful if I pulled up the second survey report on and shared screen so that we're all looking at it? I'm looking for nods, but I only see two people's faces. Mark and Sabrina, would that be helpful for you? Or do you have the survey in front of you?
I've got it in front of me.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to get it pulled up here. I just have to find it.
All right. Sounds good.
You want me to put the link in the chat, Mark, or you got it?
There's so many different emails here. Just got to find the one that says survey.
I try to make sure all your emails have LAPAC in them, like right at the first.
That is helpful, yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Also, I just sent out an email that has a table, like a list of all the existing policies and objectives. Let me forward that to Rick and Margot because I'm not sure if you would have gotten it. But we'll use that list to go through the policies. There's a column on the left-hand side so that you can review those beforehand and just kind of mark what you want to keep, change, or discard. And Kelseyville area plan has design guidelines. So I attached those for your review as well. And we'll go over those after we're done here.
Are you hoping we can get into the existing policies that were docked today?
Yes.
Okay.
And I do have something that'll go before those policies. There's a list of assumptions and issues at the beginning part that wasn't part of the table. So I want us to go over that as a group first. So we may not get into that actual Word document yet. So let's start with just introductions. Mireya Turner, Community Development Director. And let's see if I'll name the tiles so I make sure we get everybody. Just go ahead and tell people who you are, if you're on the Kelseyville LAPAC or if you live in the community, and that'll be great. Go ahead, Elizabeth Weiss.
Hi, I am Elizabeth Weiss, and I'm on the Kelseyville LAPAC.
Excellent. Mark B.
Mark Morgasani, Kelseyville LAPAC.
Super. Rick White.
I'm just an observer today.
You're a very important resident of Kelseyville.
The mayor.
Not just an observer. Hey, Rick, what's your email address? I'm going to send you these 2 documents.
rickwhite57@gmail.com.
Awesome. Okay, Margot, I'm sending them to you as well. Super.
Thank
Go ahead,
you.
Margot.
Hi, everybody. Margot Kambara, General Plan Advisory Committee, District 4 Representative. Thanks.
Thanks. Sabrina.
Sabrina Andrus, Kelseyville LAPAC.
Thank you. Mark Lips. Mark, are you there? Mark Lips is another super important Kelseyville resident, business owner, and member of our LAPAC. Angela. Angela Amaral is a resident in the Shoreline Communities Area Plan. She's also a local activist regarding commercial development and a lot of things dealing with the cannabis industry. Angel.
There I am.
Angel Acosta, and I'm in the Kelseyville LAPAC.
All right, good. Mark figured out his microphone. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I just need the picture. Where do you get all this stuff?
We
All
don't
right.
need your face.
Yeah, that's true. That is absolutely true. Probably. Okay. Mark Cliffs, Kelseyville LAPAC. Welcome all.
Super. And Kathy DeMartini.
Just an observer. Carol Prather's here with me, who is also an observer and resident of the Kelseyville area.
Awesome.
Long time.
If you would like me to send you the design guidelines and the existing policies table for your review, I'd be happy to do so if you want to put your email in the chat.
Okay.
Super. Thank you very much for joining us today, too.
Would you
Okay.
mind sending it to me again, too? I'm having trouble with my internet and it's not pulling up for me.
Yeah, no problem. Doing
Thank
it right
you.
now. And where's the chat? There it is. There, sent it to you, Elizabeth. That's okay. So, question 27. How should the general plan address flood risk in the county? This was both it was a multiple choice answer, and the top response was just ensure that dams and levees throughout the county are properly maintained or improved. There were a number of written in comments regarding preservation of wetlands. But what does this LAPAC think? What can the county do to address our flood risks? I know that this is particularly important in Big Valley area because there's a lot of floodplain there. You can either raise your hand and I can call on you, or you can just go ahead and talk. Go ahead, Kathy. Oh, except I can't really hear you. There's something mechanical going wrong with your microphone. Go ahead, Mark. We'll go back to Kathy and then we'll go to Margot.
I'm wondering if like the slough that we have over by our place and other places around this Big Valley area, if they need to be cleaned out so that it could be more of what they're intended for, to catch that water overflow.
Okay, so a priority would be to keep up regular maintenance of the sloughs.
Right.
Okay.
Because I know this one over here that runs along our property and a couple other farms is pretty, what's the word? Lots of debris and, it could probably stand to be dredged in a sense, or just cleaned out so that it has a better flow and a better runoff into that area.
Where is the slough? Because I'm just picturing like creeks, and those are private property owner responsibility.
Well, it's just east of our farm. So there's our farm, and there's the driveway that goes into Campodonico Farm, and then there's the slough.
Okay. Thanks. What else? Kathy, I think we're still getting some interference on your microphone. If you want to go ahead and mute yourself while you're kind of working on that, we'll come back to you.
Sounds like
Margot and then Rick.
Thanks. So my suggestion, and maybe it's already been taken care of, is to talk to the, I think it'd be Water Resources Department to see whether we could use or whether we need another bioswale. Thanks.
What would the bioswale do? And how large are we talking and where?
Well, I don't know. So that mine is a very general question, whether it would benefit our aquifers here, and whether it'd be advisable.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Back to Kathy. Let's see if we can do it now. You can type something in the chat too. We'll keep an eye on the chat. That might work better. Go ahead, Rick.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yep.
So what could we say the county is doing at present for the to clean the drains or to, you know, keep the flow of water moving during the high water season?
I think
I would-
Public Works does work on the culverts that are on county roads, not on
Okay.
private property.
So that doesn't address all of the down trees that go across the various creeks and drains
No.
and things like that. So it's a real big problem. It's not something that's been maintained historically, I don't believe.
Yeah.
And
Well-
it's going to take a massive amount of people and energy to do what really needs to be done.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you know what, Rick? If you do it well one time and then it gets onto a regular schedule. Right.
I agree. Yeah, you do a really good thorough cleanup, get trees away, you know, and then like you say, you go through, you survey it every year and you just clean up what needs to be cleaned up. And hopefully, you know, like you say, Mark, that you know, initial effort makes it a lot easier in subsequent years.
So the board wants me to work on an ordinance that we'll do after Lake County 2050 that just stresses to private property owners that maintenance of the creek on their property is their responsibility. Were you thinking that the county should maybe find options or find funding to do an overall study?
That sounds good in theory, but there's a lot of property owners that have a hard time just dealing with the everyday, you know, home maintenance things. You know, I mean, just keeping a new roof on their home. And so, you know, when you get into things like that that are going to affect a lot of other people, you know, neighbors, I think that the county needs to institute something that can be, you know, a helping hand kind of thing. Because if you've got to cut trees out and things like that, you're getting into some big money, I think.
Yeah, but Kelsey Creek and the slough over here on the other side of Campodonicos driveway, isn't that county property?
I don't know. I'd have to look. If the creek runs through county property, then that would be the county's responsibility. But what I'm hearing from Rick is similar to like how we would deal with the wildfire question, which is holding neighbors accountable, but also seeking for maybe some grant funding opportunities to help our income compromised or elderly property owners to be able to come into compliance.
Yeah, there's a lot of property owners and a lot of them are, you know, senior citizens that can't do a whole lot on their own. And probably a lot of them don't have enough money to do some of the cleanup that probably needs to be done. So I guess we need to kind of expand our, you know, what are the resources? What other things can be done? You got to have a volunteer day. I hate volunteering, but you know, this is kind of where it's at. It's almost a grassroots thing that takes a community to say, hey, we got a problem here, and if we have a big heavy storm, we're all going to be dealing with it.
Okay, Mario, your hand's still up. I didn't know if you had something else to add. If not, we're going to go to Mark. Okay, go ahead, Mark B.
So a couple things. One, I did hear some discussion of a changing of the floodplain, actually making it less. Has that come about? Or I remember talking to De Leon a little bit about it, but they were looking at, for example, in the Finley area, I have property. My property is about 2.5 to 3 feet currently above or below the benchmark for the 100-year floodplain. So if you build something in Finley, you have to build it 2.5 feet off the ground to roughly 3 feet, which basically condemns pretty much the whole Finley area from building anything other than maybe like an open shed or something like that, unless you want to raise your property. I know there was a project there, Roto-Rooter was going to do an office across from the trust plant, had to bail on it because they had to raise it 3 feet.
Right.
So, you know, more restrictive is tougher out in that area than less restrictive. In regards to creek maintenance, I own property that behind the trust plant that goes about to the middle of Adobe Creek. About 7 or 8 years ago, because my neighbor across the way is Congressman Thompson, we did get the, I think it was probably one of the conservation camps or somebody went in and cleared the creek. And, you know, since then it's come back. But they cleared from the bridge there on East Finley Road, about a mile down. They stacked everything at the trust plant and burned it. But you can see where, like, what Mark and Rick referred to, general maintenance, but it's expensive. I mean, you're talking about a 20 or 30 man crew down in there with chainsaws. And even on top of that, what about the hitch? You know, what about getting into the creeks now and actually doing anything in them? You know, it's going to be tougher to get permits. So one thing that the county could do would be to, you know, make it easier for people that want to do maintenance to not have to go through Fish and Game, county, lake bed management, DWR, you know, all those different things that would make it to where somebody just don't want to do it. So there's a lot going on there. It's a big deal. You know, I mean, I don't think, you know, flooding is, I've only flooded once in 24 years at the trust plant. And that's pretty much when Highland Springs goes over the overflow is when you see Finley flood, which we did have in 2019. So that was the first time I had experienced that. But can it happen? Yeah. But anyway, just a few points there from somebody who has property on the creeks and has been through a flood and struggles because of the high benchmarks. Makes it really tough to do anything on your property. And insurance, of course.
Yes.
Always got to throw insurance in.
Yes. Good. Okay, who else? Anything else on flood? What I've got so far is make sure that the county's doing regular maintenance on the sloughs or the areas that are under county responsibility. Maybe do some support for volunteer cleanup days. But definitely try to do some coordination so that we can streamline and make it easier for property owners to get permits. And then look for grant funds to help property owners stay in compliance and do regular maintenance so that it's not hurting the people downstream. Did I miss anything? One write-in on question 27 was, this survey is ridiculously long. I'm done. That's funny. Okay. Then we'll move on to the next one. The next question, which is, how should the general plan improve emergency preparedness and response capabilities in the county? Emergency preparedness and response capabilities. So what are we doing now? We have, Mark, is your hand still up or?
No, how do you take it down?
Once you hit raise icon on the top, I think you just hit raise again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should switch to lower, but it doesn't. Okay. We do have an emergency management or local hazard mitigation plan so that we're not just reacting, but are a little more proactive, taking a look at things we need to do to avoid emergencies. The top answer in the multiple choice section was prioritizing road improvements, such as repaving, regrading, restriping, adding passing zones and pullouts, and clearing vegetation, but prioritizing evacuation routes. Let's see, what else? The next big one was ensure that our residents are prepared and able to receive notifications through multiple communication methods. So making sure that people can get out quick and making sure people hear about the emergencies through a variety of methods so far are the top ranking. What have we missed?
I think the biggest one that, I still see a lot is brush and debris and trees right up to the roadways. That was in the Paradise Fire. That was how people lost their lives is, not having that 30 or 50 foot cleared back from the roadways. So at least the roadways aren't burning over. I cruise around the county on my motorcycle all the time just for some throttle therapy, and I see it quite frequently. I'm watching for deer, but brush right up to the roadway, all over. And that's a real problem if people are trying to get out. You get into Point Lakeview Road, down into Bayless Cove there, the Riviera, that's going to be a killer. At least people have a chance to get out or move over to the side of the road, but that's probably the one I see the most.
Yeah.
And is that under county jurisdiction or various HOAs in the spots you're talking about? Do you know?
We have had a road weed maintenance program over in Public Works. However, there have been a number of glitches on that system. And the last I heard, the Public Works director said that he's working on an ordinance to make sure property owners have responsibility to clear all the way to the road. So I'm not sure how that's going to go over, but that's coming before the board. But I agree. Yeah. Vegetation at a roadway is a traffic vision distancing issue and a threat. And just even if there's not an emergency and you could go out into traffic because you don't see a car speeding down Soda Bay or something, or a motorcycle.
I'm curious what the two roads say, 4290 and 4291. Can someone tell me what those are?
Yeah, that's public resource code. That's where we have road widths required. Bridges have to be able to hold fire trucks. Roads have to be wide enough for fire trucks to get on them. And what else? Like turnouts every 350 feet for a long driveway, hammerheads, things like that. So those are road requirements that'll enable emergency response and safety of emergency personnel.
Okay, and it looks like at least one response is sort of attaching that to, I'm guessing, cannabis major use permits. I don't know.
So to a certain extent, the board passed a resolution that exempted outdoor cannabis cultivation from 4290 and 4291, similar to the same exemptions that other forms of agriculture have already.
Okay. All right.
But it is not exempt if it's a cannabis related business that has some sort of manufacturing on the parcel. So that would then require compliance.
Okay. But otherwise it's treated outdoor cannabis where there's no manufacturing is treated similarly to other act.
Yes.
Okay.
What else? So actually, given that the issue of brush and debris right up to the roadway is likely to shift to become more of a property owner's responsibility, what do you think about the same county stepping up to help with compliance if property owners need it? Because if that ordinance passes, then we're going to need to start enforcing that through code enforcement.
Well, many of the roadways probably have a center, probably have setbacks. If you take center of roadway, I'm looking at a project at my house, and it's 125 feet from center of the freeway. So, wherever that easement stops, is that really the homeowner's responsibility, or, who has that easement? Is it?
So you're saying that's a county easement?
County?
That's a county easement, Mark, from center to 125 out?
That's actually Caltrans there, because that's a major highway.
Okay.
But
yeah.
typically from center of road, it'll be like 30 feet from the center of the road to, you can't be in that. Same thing going along the lumberyard here along Main Street. The first I think 15 or 20 feet off the road at a center of roadway to something, you've got MediaCom, you've got AT&T poles, those types of things. So it's a combination of, easements or setbacks from center of roadway to the property line, and then the property owner takes over from where? From the setback onto his property, or is it kind of you can see what I'm saying there. I mean, a lot of times the brush along the roadway is in the easement. So just something to think about there. There's two people that have property along the roadways.
I do anticipate a robust discussion when that ordinance goes before the Board of Supervisors.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I think some folks might have some things to say.
I'm glad it's not me. Yeah.
One thing I don't see on 28 around more sort of response capabilities, although I definitely see it more in question 29, and that is evacuation centers and sites, and making sure that we've got enough of those. It might be, maybe I missed it, but I don't see that anywhere in the responses.
Yeah, but those, we're calling them CRCs, Community Resiliency Centers.
Yeah, I don't, and I think that should be named specifically in the regarding emergency preparedness and not just the extreme temps. Again, unless it's down further and I haven't gotten there yet.
No, I'm not sure. With of course, the assumption that it kind of depends on the nature of that fire. Kind of goes fire by fire. Sometimes you can't set in an evacuation spot in Kelseyville if the fire's in Kelseyville. So, but to have the resiliency centers have sufficient ones so that they can be up and running as needed, even if it's not in the same community, is, I agree, a definite priority. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's worth stating.
Okay, good. What else? Anything else? Because our next one is, well, go ahead, Elizabeth.
I was just curious what modes of communication we have going on right now for emergencies. I'm not.
The ones that I can think of are Nixles. And then let's see. We push things out in social media. We do have those automatic phone calls, that we get in case of emergencies. Yeah. We have some things that push out to subscribers, and then other things that actually push out to any cell phone that's within the region. So let's say you come and visit from the Bay Area and you're just here, you'll get a notice also.
Oh, sure. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great for our tourism industry so that people visiting us for a short time don't have to think, oh, maybe I need to sign up for this Nixle alert.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so they're not thinking about that stuff. Thanks. Go ahead, Margot.
Thanks, Maria. I'd just like to add some context on the 4290 and 4291 requirements for road safety. And that is, there are some places in our area plan where projects are approved where the roads are only single lane dirt roads. It's very narrow and the road is very windy. The terrain is has high elevation, so it is a safety issue. And that's why it's important to make sure that the roads are wide enough and there are turnouts, because in an evacuation, not everyone is going to be able to get out in time. Thanks.
Thanks, Margot. Anybody else? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to how should the general plan best prepare the county for extreme temperatures, including extreme heat and cold. This is also where those CRCs, the resiliency centers, are coming into play. Like that was the top vote. But I really like this other one, this other option that was popular. Pursue grants and funding opportunities to provide financial assistance or reduced costs for energy retrofits, cooling, ventilation, backup energy options, and other adaptation methods. That was a good one. Water stations, cooling stations, and shade structures in our parks. drought-tolerant green infrastructure, including landscaped areas. And one of the points made in other LAPACs was to prioritize or prefer native or indigenous plant species rather than just any drought-tolerant species. I thought that was a pretty good point. What else? Ooh, a livestock evacuation center is needed. Huh.
I was going to say I liked that one, or something around what the resources are for livestock specifically. And but like, is LEAP still around? Is that still a thing?
I think
LEAP
so.
or whatever it was.
Yeah, LEAP.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know in times of fire, the Farm Bureau did a lot for distribution of hay and pet foods and stuff. They kind of became a hub for that. But that was more organically than planned. What else? Extreme heat or cold?
Well, during the big snowstorm, you know, there's a lot of gas stations, facilities, grocery stores, mini marts that don't have backup power. Anything, I mean, since we're talking about what the county can do with, you know, and you talk about grants or offering, you know, even private businesses tax breaks, anything, you know, we were the only, I mean, I've got a generator that backs up my fuel pump, my propane, my store. I had people just come here to hang out. But most of the places, they couldn't get fuel, they couldn't get propane, because in that particular snowstorm, everything was out. That was a bad one. That was March of 23. Yeah, March of 23. We had that couple days there where it just flattened everything. And you know, with these gas stations and businesses not having generators, you know, it takes out groceries, it takes out, you know, heating, cooling, fuel, propane, all that stuff. So I would think working with, you know, the local businesses to have backup power, you know, is a big deal. And it's expensive to do, you know, for businesses. So
yeah, those generators are not cheap.
No, they're not.
But that's interesting that Kelseyville Lumber just sort of spontaneously became a resiliency center during that time period.
People come here to stay warm. They hang out in the building, get coffee. I mean, we were the only place with power for about 24 hours. So
wow.
And I had feral gas running 2 trucks a day over here, and I had the diesel guy and the gas guy bringing fuel, and we just took care of people. You know, it's sort of what we do. But it shouldn't be. You know, I had a friend that went through one of the hurricanes back in North Carolina, and they lost food, everything. There was no groceries, there was no fuel, and after a couple of days, if you did get to a fuel station, they give you 2 gallons. You know, it was almost like everything got blown off the map when something bad happened, and so it really, when something bad happens, it always boils down to food, water, and fuel. And it's all fossil fuel. You know, solar is not going to work too good when you've got a foot of snow on the ground and, you know, that kind of thing. So that would be my 2 cents, having lived through it.
Good. Margot, is your hand up on purpose?
It is. Thanks.
Excellent. Go ahead.
I'd like to piggyback on what Mark said. And that we have a big need for long-term electrification for homes and our resiliency centers, and to have battery backup so people have access to affordable energy for heating and cooling. And some of that technology could be heat pumps. Thanks.
Thanks, Margot. Kathy, anything you wanted to add in the chat? I'm watching the chat to make sure I don't miss anything. All right. And that finishes our survey. Yes. 1 major deliverable down. Thank you. 4 to go. Doing good. All right. We're going to switch over now to the existing Kelseyville area plan. You should have all received the well, except for Kathy, I haven't gotten your email address yet, but you should have received a Word document that has all of the objectives and policies that are listed in the Kelseyville area plan, along with a column on the left-hand side for you to mark K for just keep this as it is, meaning that this remains a priority or an objective or policy that we value, or D, this is obsolete, let's throw it out, or C, we need to tweak it, but we want to keep it. So, but before you get to that, one thing that didn't make it on the table was issues and assumptions, like major planning issues. So I'd kind of like us to go over that as a group right now, before I set you free to do your homework on the table. I'm going to go ahead and share screen so that we're all looking at the same thing. But if you have the Kelseyville area plan handy, it's like page 2 or something. It's right after the map of the planning area. So we'll just go over these. Feel free to jump in. Let me know if there's something you think is just carry on, keep it, which is a lot of these are, because it kind of talks about the priorities of the community, or if we need to tweak it or throw it out. Protection of Clear Lake shoreline, creeks, and other sensitive open space and wildlife areas.
Is this one you've got up on your screen, Maria? Is it different than the one you sent?
It precedes the one I sent. This is the very beginning. It sort of establishes baselines, and then as I'm scrolling down, you can see it starts talking about different demographics or different Kelseyville specific data. And then later on in the different elements, you'll get to the policies and objectives. And that's what your Word doc is. It's just a list of those
It's
guys.
also on page 6 of the 98-page Kelseyville area plan.
Yes. Page 6. So I'm assuming we still want to protect Clear Lake. Long-term water supplies, yeah, right? In light of competing long-term water supplies in light of competing demands of ag, residential, commercial, and industrial uses. That's a major planning issue.
Mm-hmm.
Agricultural issues, preservation of ag resources, conflicts between ag and nearby non-ag land uses, supply of farm labor housing adequate to meet demand. Do we still feel this is a major issue?
Well, I suggest that until we hear that it's been resolved, that we keep it on the list, because it was raised elsewhere in the area plan for Kelseyville.
I think if anything is actually expanded past just farm worker housing to housing stock in general across all types.
That could be.
Yeah. Need for erosion control. Yeah, why don't we keep that? That sounds like a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Fire safety, access, water, fuel load management, and controlled burning. Flooding within the planning area. Poor lighting along Canocti Road. Is that still a problem? Thinking of the subdivision down at the end, there's a little bit of lighting there, right? But the Canocti Road, doesn't that, am I thinking of the right road? Isn't that the one that goes up Canocti? The dirt road?
Yeah, by all the schools.
Is poor lighting still a public safety issue out there? Does anybody know?
I think it is.
I know they're talking about building a sidewalk. And didn't I see something like a $500,000 or $600,000 project for a walking sidewalk along Canocti Road down to the schools?
That sounds like a safe walk to school or safe routes to school project.
Yeah, I know our congressman had something to do with that. I know there was problems with the funding, or it didn't get done. I think it was a county project, but I'm not positive. But
County staff is the one that usually does it, I think, unless they contract out. But yeah, it is a grant, safe routes to school grant that counties can get.
I wonder if they would be addressing lighting at that time.
I don't know. Good question. Soil stability and landslide hazards in steep areas. Yeah.
On the lighting issue, really quickly, Maria, on the lighting one, I wonder if we could, I don't know if it's worthy of having it all the way sort of pulled out from here. But I'm curious if there's basically some language around, like, you know, an assessment of where poor lighting exists and focusing on not just naming Canocti Road specifically.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good one, because I could see us going for grants for that one, for an overall lighting assessment. Okay. Circulation issues, roadways and bridges adequate to serve existing and anticipated development. Sorry. We've done a lot of bridges in the last few years, but I'm not sure if this is still an issue in Kelseyville, but I think we should leave it on just in case. Greater traffic safety on Main Street. Is that a problem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's a lot of nods. Okay, that must be
Yeah, I think it's
a problem I just don't hear much about. Narrow right-of-way on Canocti Road. Again, poor lighting and lack of alternate access. Is that a priority or a main issue, community? Sounds like Canocti Road was a real problem the last time we did this area plan.
Brian Hansen talked about that. He couldn't be here today. He got called in, but I believe at the last meeting he talked quite a bit about that Canocti Road down to the schools. Yeah. Really
Okay,
bad.
good.
Probably
And we're
gonna be-
keeping it. I remember that. You're right. Yeah. What about the need for safe north-south crossing over Highway 29 in Kelseyville? I remember farmers complaining if they couldn't cross their tractor across the highway like in less than a minute. They were pissed.
I mean, I don't know if the numbers bear it out. Again, Brian Hansen would probably be helpful with that. Like, if we are actually seeing more accidents, I do know that, you know, it could feel a little like the Frogger game, that old school video game.
Yeah.
But, you know, that also just comes with more people. I don't know if it's worth pulling out. But again, the numbers may actually say different.
Okay. Housing issues. Need for a variety of housing opportunities. Feel like we
Actually,
should
we
put
keep
that
that
all
one.
in caps and in bold now too. It's like a big deal.
Well, and then I think we could, unless we want to pull out farm labor specifically under ag, but if we've got something that's more general, like we were talking about, we could actually get rid of that one.
Yeah, yeah. Hold on, just wanting to pull out, or I'm just highlighting the Highway 29 crossing, asking if it's still an issue. Okay, ask Brian. Got it.
Are they talking
Okay.
on the Highway 29 crossing? Are they talking about crossing from one side of the highway to the other side?
Yes.
And so,
Yeah, like if you're on Bell Hill and you.
right. So are there not enough, there aren't enough lights in some of the, cross stoplights that you would just have to go to that area and cross at the stoplight?
Yeah, there's only one
there
stoplight.
Yeah.
29 in Kelseyville.
Yeah.
Oh, there's one Highland Springs. There's one
Live Oak Drive, and you can't
Live
get
Oak, Live Oak Drive.
Yeah,
And that's it.
that's it.
Okay. But is
Keep
is the suggestion, so is the thinking that to add more stoplights?
Or roundabouts or traffic calming measures of some kind.
Well, if they're crossing to go across 29, that's a highway. So,
Mhm. Yeah, the question is just really, is this still a priority?
yeah, okay.
These are sort of baseline issues that,
Right. Okay. Yeah,
They
no, I
wanted
get it.
solving.
I get it. Sorry.
all right, cool.
Yeah.
That's good. Economic development issues, increased local employment opportunities, protection of Main Street as a business center. Good. Anybody really raring to kick that stuff out? Nope. Don't see it. Nope. Cultural resource issues, historic preservation efforts in the planning area, and protection of archaeological resources. Public service, need for a larger post office. Well, I think we got one.
Yeah, we could probably get rid of that.
Huh?
I think it would also be under cultural resource issues, maybe one specifically about lifting up and highlighting local indigenous practices.
Mm-hmm.
What that actually looks like, I don't know, but I think it's important enough to name it and then do the brainstorming around it later.
Mm-hmm. Good. Are we good on kicking off post office, or does it already need to be upgraded?
I think that's obsolete.
Yeah.
I don't think we need it.
That's a pretty nice post office, Kelseyville.
Yeah.
Need for a community auditorium. Huh.
Can we add pool on here somewhere?
Does LAPAC all vote to add need for a community pool?
Yes.
All right.
But the community auditorium would serve a lot of good purposes, not just for, entertainment and whatnot, but it could also be that cooling center or that warming center that you need for, people to escape if they have no heating.
That's a good idea, because we have been looking at CRCs to work as hubs in case of emergency, but also as community gathering centers outside of that too.
My impression was that was kind of the idea with the senior/event center.
Yeah. Kind of. Yeah.
May not be big enough. It seems like the schools would fit into that. With auditoriums and.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of events at the school auditoriums. Need for continued maintenance of county parks. Really? Is that an issue?
I don't think it's an issue. I think the parks look pretty good. I mean, there's always a need for continued maintenance. You don't have to keep telling us. We don't have to remind ourselves every time we look at the general plan.
Yeah, huh?
Yeah, I agree.
I think
I
Lars
take
is
it
pretty clear on that one.
I drove through the
I mean,
county
or
park.
we could.
It looks really nice.
Yeah.
I think it looks great.
Yeah.
It looks better and better, actually. Like those new awnings or coverings over the bleachers where the field, that's fantastic.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really.
I wonder though if instead of the county park too, there, we want something. I haven't seen it here. Although maybe it is a county park, the Kelseyville Park, the one that got the. There's a decent amount of space there, and I know at one point there was all kinds of ideas about a splash pad and a pool and da 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 da. But that's free space for our residents. It'd be really nice to lift that up specifically about jazzing it up. But I don't know how to say that in the professional way.
Is that called Kelseyville Park? I'm thinking of that one behind the Adventist clinic across from the pizza place. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So continue to develop the space at Kelseyville Park with amenities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it is actually a county park.
It is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I remember
Kelseyville Community Park, it's called.
Rob Brown tried to get an old surplus helicopter there for a really long time, but I don't think it ever happened.
That'd be cool.
Scenic and aesthetic issues. Protection of scenic view sheds. Yeah, that's totally still important, right? Nodding. Do I see nods? Yeah. Undergrounding of utilities and design standards that retain that small town country atmosphere. This is good because you guys already have design standards, so I'll be really interested to hear your input as to whether or not they're working or if we need to tweak them. But that's later. And then finishing up, air quality and noise issues, smoke from wood stoves and backyard burning and ad burning. That's still an issue? Like something that needs attention?
No, because you go get a permit and there's a whole list of things you have to sign and agree to. I mean, it's just normal business.
I think everybody's pretty used to doing that. I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of a routine that everybody understands, and
kind of like a Kelseyville fall smell, isn't it? I like it.
Well, any of that stuff, with the exception of the wood stoves, you're pulling a permit for any of that. And ag burning, if it gets into the big piles, they have to do smoke management plans and all that stuff. So that's already being handled.
The negative impact that I have from wood stove is when people try to burn their trash in the wood stoves. And you get the foul stuff. That's hard. Dust from unpaved roads. Yeah, let's get right on that. Dust from unpaved roads.
I don't think you need that.
Like all
Yeah,
gazillion
I mean-
miles of. Yeah. Okay. Ag noise.
Well,
That doesn't seem like.
I'm not
That-
sure there's a lot we're gonna do about that just because because
but
of the right to
ordinance.
farm ordinance. Yeah.
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 Oh, we're rural.
Aircraft noise and highway noise.
We got to have the aircraft glide into Lake County.
They could shut their motor off when they get to the over the mountain.
Just coasting.
Before we leave this page, I'd just like to add a footnote on the second one, dust from unpaved roads.
Uh-huh.
We might want to just consider for future, maybe not for this time for the general plan or the area plan, but as, more the unincorporated parts of the area plan, it may become more of an issue with the dust from unpaved roads as more people move into those areas or we see more commercial activity on those roads. Does that make
Yes,
sense?
Totally. Yeah.
Okay.
What I would add, and I'm not actually sure if I would add it under scenic and aesthetic issues or air quality and noise issues, and that is something about the importance of maintaining the clear skies, basically like light pollution.
Oh, dark skies. Yes.
That's Dark
Yeah.
Skies Initiative.
That is absolutely a good idea. Okay. So
That's
do you
been-
think we
that's
should
been in place.
remove the ag noise, aircraft noise, and highway noise and smoke, but keep dust from unpaved roads? Okay. Remove smoke, ag noise, aircraft noise, highway noise. Okay.
Light pollution under either of those two. I could make
Yep.
an argument that it could go on the
Add. I'm going to put that under scenic. Dark sky, preservation, and scenic. Do we have a light? Is there a lighting thing? Cultural.
There was a Dark Skies Initiative that was implemented in, I think, 2018. And I was talking to somebody in development the other day, and they said that that's in the development. You have to.
Yeah, I know we've got a policy. I was just wondering which of these categories. I don't know, but we'll just make a new one if we need to. We'll just make sure it gets added in there because it's important.
Well, like
Assumptions.
scenic, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's probably where it's going to go. All right, so then assumptions. These are assumptions that were used during the preparation of the last Kelseyville area plan. And I'm going to have to go in like 5 minutes. Funding sources are limited due to budget constraints. Local septic standards will remain in effect and not change significantly. Automobile will continue to be the primary source of transportation. Traffic will continue to increase. Ag will continue to be the predominant economic activity. Yeah. Conflicts between ag and non-ag land uses will persist. Oh, as will the pressure to convert ag land to other uses. That is never ceasing, especially when some aspect of the ag industry is having a tough time. Then they want to kind of split their land up and sell it. Increased competition for water. Ooh, tourism will increase substantially. I wish. Due primarily to increased use of Clear Lake State Park and possible future parklands. Do we still think that's an assumption? I want it to be an assumption. I want it to happen.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about? Commercial businesses wanting to acquire state parks or county parks to
No, we're
expand.
talking about tourism being a draw during
Right.
this planning period or increasing.
Even
Yeah.
what
hope
I would
that-
do is I would just omit the second piece of that sentence. I mean, I think that naming specific reasons.
So keep tourism will increase substantially, but not say why.
Or will increase.
Will
throughout the planning
increase,
period.
yeah.
See, substantially seems, wow, lovely. I don't know.
Remove
Or-
substantially.
Well, I think I see why the previous area plan team included that. I think they wanted to bring attention to those parks and those attributes as, they may need protection or some support.
Well, yeah, they were thinking about that in terms of the future, like objectives and policies and stuff. Totally. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So flooding will occur within the planning area, and there will be some pressure to develop steeper and more remote lands. Do you still feel that there's a pressure to develop in the more remote lands, like our rural lands, the ones that have the steeper slopes?
Ag development, yeah. I mean, I still see vineyards going in up Cobb Mountain, going up Bottle Rock on the side of a mountain. There's a big old vineyard and clearing up there. I don't think it's a, I don't know, what's the purpose of having that statement here?
It's just meant to signify that it's an assumption that resonates throughout the planning document or the area plan.
And I'm assuming we'll have a chance. Sorry.
We may revisit this when we do a draft. Yeah, let's talk about it then.
The courthouse?
Huh?
You see where they're building the courthouse? You're cutting that out of the side of a mountain. So
that is very true.
You know, it's,
Touche.
It's not going to go away. So I would think it's fair to say that people
and we're going to keep it.
Yeah.
Yep. That was my, sorry to interrupt, Mark. That was my request, is that if there will be a chance to revisit these after we've had a lot more familiarity with what we're putting in.
So let's, as we close, let's just go over the overall timeline. We're right in the middle. We're halfway through LAPAC season. The rest of our deliverables are to provide input on the policies and objectives, then also talk about and provide recommendations on community growth boundary adjustments, planning area boundary adjustments, land use designation amendments. And we're going to do those 3 topics in our in-person meeting later at the SAW shop. But virtual, I think we'll once we finish up the policies and stuff, we may be done with virtual unless there's something else that I'm not thinking of. But yeah, so that's where we are. And then I'm going to leave you alone to have a nice peaceful holiday season while we start working on the actual drafts of the area plans. But then come January, when those are in public review period, that's when I'm going to try to bring y'all back to take a look at those drafts, see what we missed, see what we got wrong, see if there's anything that needs to be changed, added, or discarded. So, but you'll have a break over holiday.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. You guys are doing good work. This is good stuff. All right, Kathy, if you would send me an email, I would be happy to send you those documents. And I'm really glad. Thank you. Especially all the non-LAPAC members who are taking the time out. Thank you. You didn't even sign up for this, but it's so important that we have public input as we're trying to develop the vision for the community.
Yeah, come back for the next one.
Absolutely. Bring your friends.
Yep. Weigh in.
All right. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to close this down for today.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys.